Welcome to tonight's Poison podcast. What's your poison?
Let me take my tequila first.
Hey guys, welcome to another Tonight's Poison podcast. I am Jazz, and I have the absolute pleasure to introduce someone who's not only a respected name in the tequila industry, but it's also a friend of mine for 5 years, known as Iliana Partida. She is the master distiller and owner of NAM 1522 Hacienda de Oro, one of the most respected, quality-driven craft distilleries in Mexico. Welcome, Iliana.
Welcome you. This is Mi Casa es Tu Casa. It have always been. It will always be. So thanks to you
I
for being here.
appreciate it. I appreciate it. I much rather, this is my first one doing outside of my normal New Jersey environment. I'd much rather be doing a podcast in this environment at this beautiful, beautiful distillery, the Hacienda of Iliana Partida. Love it.
You're welcome.
So Iliana, just to, start off this podcast with something interesting. Do you remember the first time you ever tasted tequila? How old were you? I know when I grew up in Jersey and I had my first tequila moment was not a positive one, and I hear that from a lot of people. And of course, our industry's evolved so much now with having such great quality stuff. But what was your first tequila experience, and was it oh no, I'm never drinking this again?
I don't think that was the situation. I don't quite remember like my first. Oh, I do remember the first time that I got drunk, for example, which is not the first time that I tasted tequila.
Sure.
I do remember my first contact with tequila was with my mom in the bottling line, and she was telling me like what it should be smelling and to put that in your hands to see if that was actually good quality tequila, or if it evaporated, that means it's not a good quality tequila, and things like that. And one of my first interactions, I remember my father was with a client and they were making a tasting. And I was curious because they were saying like, oh, this is smell like herbal and this doesn't smell that good. So what should we be doing about it? And so that was the first time that I tried it to try to recognize what the customers didn't like and what they were liking about the tequila, and try to understand the differences between one and the other, because my dad and any of my brothers didn't speak English back then. So I was the translator, the official translator. And it was important to me to let my father knows what they were saying and why they were saying that. So that was my first time that I was tasting and say like, oh, they mean this because, and I'm
How old
smelling,
were you then?
I don't know,
Say-
probably like 15.
Okay.
Yeah,
Alright.
probably like
But it was
15.
for work. It was not for pleasure.
It was for work,
Yeah.
not for pleasure. Yes. And then
And your reaction to the first reaction to it was what? Like we were like, oof, or that's
strong. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. The first time is like, but I had always smelling and things like that. So I think it was like, I was expecting that to be strong. It wasn't like, oh, no, I don't like this. No, 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 not exactly. I knew it was alcohol at some higher level. And I didn't consider that like unpleasant. But then, because I had already tried it, I went, yes, with friends and stuff, and you don't know really how to measure how much to drink. So yes, my first time that I got drunk, it was not pleasant. No, that's when I learned that it was just sipping tequila, not exactly like a full bottle. No, 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 no. And it wasn't that many shots, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I was probably like 16 back then, so you don't know
Yeah.
what you don't know at those ages.
So not a lot of people know this, but I didn't actually start drinking till I was in my late 20s, mid 20s. I never drank before that. Now, as a kid, I've been told by my parents that, maybe I was 1 year old, 2 year old, barely walking, crawling, whatever. And there was a party at the house and I grabbed somebody's champagne glass or sparkling glass and I had a couple sips and got tipsy. Because that was my first interaction with alcohol, from hearing from other people, specifically my parents. But for some reason, I hung out with people in school and college. They were not into it. I was not into it. And one of my inspirations in life has been my grandfather. And my people, Sikhs, are known for drinking and enjoying life for the most part. There's, ones that are super religious and that don't drink. But the people I grew up with, my uncles, my father, everybody drank except my grandfather. He never drank. So he always stuck with me, and I just never drank alcohol. until I think it was about 27, 28 is when I said, you know what? Okay, you know what? Let me start a little bit. And I think I started with Corona.
No.
Corona. I had some Montes wine. I had some whiskey sours. And then eventually now, I'm pretty much drinking everything. And now my nickname is Tonight's Poison. So I've definitely caught up.
Yes.
Before we get into the product that, I absolutely fell in love with the moment I heard about it, which is Quintaliza, tell me a little bit about your DNA and your family's legacy and what influenced your approach with, being involved in the family business and then now what you're doing now.
Well, I think the words that I remember hearing was about the community, was about the teamwork, was that family was a very important part of the business. So those were the words that I heard every single day. And I think my approach today is to be in contact with the community and make team with everyone that is here in the facility, not as co-workers, probably a little bit more than that, as we were brothers and sisters. And I think I learned that since I was a little kid. We have a few distilleries so far, so the interaction between my uncles and my cousins, it was important. Everyone was related to the tequila industry, and I learned that yes, family sometimes has its own challenges,
Sure.
but if we keep the eye on the quality of the tequila, and that's what matters the most at the end, is going to pay off. It's going to be
Sure.
a very well representation of what we are doing, on what we believe, and that we never have to lose contact with the community. My grandfather was a very good sponsor of, like this. Like the first water supply on the Amatitan, he was in that project. The first distillery of the community, which was regional, he was also involved in that. So he teach me, and my father also was like a politician, but not exactly on politics. He just liked to be involved with all the situations that had something to do with the community. So that way we can be on the same page. We were looking for progress on the community. We were looking for a better situation on Amatitan. And I think that also helped me to realize that it was very important um, and today be a social responsible enterprise. So
That's very, very good. How far does the legacy go back of your family? Like, how long has your family been involved in the tequila business?
And I am fourth generation agave grower. So it was like from
Wow.
grandfather. And then my grandfather got involved in the tequila production because they were focusing at the beginning of the years to only sell agave to the big companies, like Cuervo, Sauza, and Herradura, that is the one that is placed in Amatitan. But at some moment, they realized that there were not that many distilleries and there had a lot of agaves. So they realized it was a big problem, social problem. And they got some sponsorship from the federal government to build a distillery to unify 6,000 agave growers that had a lot of agave, though that was like a very big issue. So they built a distillery that was meant to produce all these agaves to one single tequila production, and that everyone didn't get their agave wasted on the fields.
Oh, wow. Tell me a little bit about this distillery, and then tell me how you got involved in co-creating Quintaliza. So people watching and listening to this, tell us a little bit about where you're located, about the distillery, and, all that you do here.
Yes. So this distillery was built in 1999. The name is Hacienda de Oro. We are in the valley in Amatitan, Jalisco. We consider Amatitan as the birthplace of the tequila production because we have the most antique distilleries in the canyon, and not a lot of people know that. But if you come, you will see distilleries, of course, in tequila, but they are like more Spanish fusion, instead of the truly native Mexican distilleries that are in Amatitan.
What makes a Spanish fusion distillery? What's
I because of the families that were building those distilleries.
okay.
Right? Not exactly natives. Yes, people were working there,
Sure.
but yes, there was like these big families that have a lot of probably money and
Business people, they came in and yeah, it's
yeah.
cross pollination with the cultures and things, the way they do things.
Exactly. If you see the architecture and everything is like an hacienda that they used to make it, and if you see like the ones in the canyon, you won't see like any architecture that is like, oh, this is very cool. It is not. It is all like a very very unique place. So we start. My parents built this in 1999, and I was always here. But recently, like 5 years ago, they decided to put me in the front of the company. And I met Quintaliza, I think like 3 years ago. And
Mr. Mike Winters, right?
Mr. Mike Winters.
See Mike Winters, amazing guy.
Yes, I remember my mom and my grandmother start making infusions with coffee. And so I was making a few maceration and things around coffee. So when Mike arrived and he proposed to make something, coffee, barrel aged tequila, I thought it was amazing. I thought it was like, yes, those are the type of things that I'm willing to do and that I would love to do. And he was just so cool about it. He was like, so, I don't know, his energy, not only his, but all the team of Quintaliza, they're
Yeah,
like
very
so
different.
cool. Yes, they're very different, very unique. Everyone is very talented. And I remember have like a very dry first conversation. And when they proposed the idea, I said like, yes, I want to be in. And he actually remembers saying like, not all distilleries want to do on these projects because they believe, like the tequila should be very traditional and you cannot really change a lot of things around that. And so like, no, I do want to be the other part of the situation
Sure.
where we love innovation and we love to attract new people to the tequila industry.
Yeah.
So yes, I'm totally in.
Yeah. And listen, with mankind and without innovation, we'll still be cavemen. So
Exactly.
it's our nature to explore and try different things.
Totally.
We wouldn't have found fire
Yes.
without
Yes.
experimenting and trying things. So
Yes.
that's amazing. How did Mike get to know you, or how did Mike come across you? I mean, there's so many different distilleries out there. How do you have
Yes.
a connection?
Yeah, so it was company that the name is called Tequila Partners.
Okay.
And I understand these guys are kind of advisors for the people that wants to get into the tequila industry. And they find like a few distilleries that are willing to have an open contract for private labels. So they make their research of what you need, what the distilleries are willing to do, and they make the connections. So that's how I met them. And one of the guys, I think not just one, two or three guys working on Tequila Partners were working on Tequila Partida. So that's how they knew this distillery and that's how they make the connection.
Awesome. Listen, I know it's 10 o'clock here, but it's 5 o'clock in India. So let's have a little toast and let's try this amazing Quintaliza. Salud.
Salud.
So good. So for the people listening and watching this, tell us, what is Quintaliza?
What is
Describe a little more.
Quintaliza? So Quintaliza is a organic tequila. The base is a Blanco organic tequila. And from this base, we start resting in American oak barrels for 2 months. And then after that, what is interesting in here is that we are placing that reposado organic tequila into coffee barrels. What's coffee barrels? So the first thing that they do in the barrel is to put some cold brew for 1 month. And then this cold brew will impregnate the barrel, the wood. We're taking that out. And after that, we're placing the tequila in. So after another 2 months, we are looking at the color of the tequila and we clearly see the changes in aroma and color and taste, right? When you see the tequila, it may look almost as an añejo. It's like a really golden color.
Yeah.
And when you smell it, you can notice the coffee, but without being overwhelming, because you can still notice like this caramel, this chocolate kind of aromas in this tequila. So I will, if you probably taste one regular reposado against this, you will be very surprised because this complexity is unique. So it's like it will stand out from every reposado that is right now on the market.
Yeah.
It's kind of you didn't see that coming when you first taste this tequila, and I just think it's very very pleasing.
It's very different. It's very pleasing. It's very interesting. It's great part of evolution of agave to try something different that belongs on the shelf in the
Yeah.
market. What kind of a customer do you see drinking this? I mean, we have, when we look at branding and marketing, we have an ideal customer profile. I mean, for something like this, if you like agave, anybody could be really drinking it and enjoying it. But is there a vision when Mike created this with you? Is there a certain type of moment that you see somebody having this? Is it after dinner type of drink or before? Obviously, as somebody who's producing the tequila, you want everybody to drink for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But what's the ideal profile that Mike might have discussed with you and this is created for?
I think, as you were saying, their social media is very unique and specific. It's not like appealing to like any other tequila that is appealing or has the mariachi band and things like that. They're like very unique. I love that part because I think it opens to more public on the tequila, right? It doesn't have to be like the mariachi thing. So I love that type of customer that they are looking for. When I first tasted, I remember I mentioned to him like I would love this for my dessert in my dinner. I remember saying that. So I think that's like an occasion I will drink this always. I'm not a party girl, so probably that's what I thought about that situation.
Well, we got to
I
talk
after
about that first time you got drunk again.
yeah, we have to speak about it. Since then, I said like, no, this is not my thing. And yes, I think that was my first reaction when I tasted. I said like, this is for a very nice dessert after dinner situation, like a very good talk.
Exactly where I see it, as like a
Yeah.
perfect opportunity. And then somebody falling in love with it. So, you know what? I'm going to drink this all the time. But that's like the
Exactly.
first, I've been drinking cognac as an after dinner drink, port wines after dinner drink. Now here's something else that you can have, as
Yes, especially. I don't see this like doing shots in the bar. I mean, it's lovely,
yeah.
but I just
It's a
don't see
sipper.
her.
It's a
Yeah,
sipper.
it's a sipper, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Or, I've had a couple times, the right restaurants have been experimenting with it, in a espresso martini
Oh, yeah.
or a dessert coffee cocktail drink,
Yeah.
hot or cold. So I've seen it that it works really well because it just adds the element of it.
It does. It does. I think every sipper goes perfectly with cocktails. Also, I don't think is one or the other. But yes, there are some tequilas that are only for cocktails. When you taste them alone, it's not just like a good combination. There are some tequilas that really need that syrup and things like that because they are not as complex or and as smooth as this one. So, but I love that Quintaliza goes for two markets, for the sipping and for the cocktail.
Well, it's your baby. You're
Right.
making it here. So it's going to be babied and it's going to be
Yeah.
extra smooth for you. Extra love and nurture goes into it.
That's true.
So outside of Quintaliza, let's talk about the general tequila category. Coming from where you come from, obviously having the pedigree in the industry and the know-how and creating so many different unique projects, what do you still see out there as far as tequila misconceptions from people that, kind of like you want to clear up, or it drives you crazy sometimes that I can't believe this still exists, that you would like to talk about?
Well, I think it's very well known that the majority of the people got drunk in the early ages and they have like a very bad reputation about tequila. But I also hate the fact when the people are calling the valley lowlands. I just hate that. I don't know what that came from. But I said like it's literally the name, the valley. The valley, it says on every single map of Mexico says the valley. So I hate when someone says, "Oh, the lowlands." And say like, why? Why? Just why?
Yeah.
So
I don't know.
hate
Somebody
that.
must have just created that just for the publications or books or education for the American consumer and say, this is high, this is low, highland, lowland.
Exactly. I think it comes from the highlands. Someone said like, "Oh, this is the highlands," and other people immediately correlate. Oh, if
This is high, this is low.
this is
Yeah,
high,
yeah,
this is low.
yeah.
But I mean, if you look at Google, I don't know, it should be appearing in some way that is not called the lowlands, it's the valley.
Yeah.
And I just have a little bit of hate of that because I don't know, you don't I don't know the elevation on Napa, for example, but you know Napa for being a valley. You should be knowing this valley for being the first one producing tequila.
Yeah.
So it's relevant about the tequila production. The first distilleries were built in here.
Yeah.
So that's why it doesn't make any sense for me to the people that start telling that it was the lowlands without even knowing that it's a valley and the actual name is the valley. So, but yeah, that's how
Oh, it's
that makes me crazy a little.
I can appreciate that. And there's one thing that I would like for you to touch on and educate all of us on is even though it's the valley, which is considered lowland, there's some high elevation here, right? There's different levels. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, for example, in Amatitan, as we were mentioned, we have the canyon where the first antique distilleries were built. And then there's the valley, and we also have mountains. So you can find even three different elevations in Amatitan and three small microclimates in Amatitan that will make different agaves and fermentation methods. And it's going to be unique if the distillery was placed in the center of Amatitan, in a hill or in the canyon. And the tequila will be completely different.
Yeah.
So I think that's a very good thing to look for and
Yeah.
try different tequilas, so you can see like the terroir around it. But it had and it goes more into the fermentation from my perspective, where you can see this difference. And I think everybody should be tasting all of them. It's just small and unique, different profiles that can be happening
Yeah.
in Amatitan.
I think one misconception that some people have is if this is highlands, is lowland, it's ground level.
Yeah.
What's the highest elevation in the valley? Or
The higher,
approximately?
up here we are 1250.
1250, that's right?
Yes, and on the it's like a range of, I would say, 400 meters
Okay.
between this and then the canyon.
Yeah. So it's huge. You know, it's not like ground level, you know, there's different as you said, 3 microclimates. So
Mhm.
that is a very good misconception to touch on and clear up, which is amazing.
Yep.
What are you working on? I'm sure there's a lot of projects you're working on and there's new projects and collaborations. Anything
Yeah.
interesting that's going to be coming out that we should keep an eye out for coming out of your distillery? I know sometimes you create something and depending on who's watching or listening where, it might not be available to you in the next few years even. But it's interesting to see if is there some
True.
project that you're working on that you're proud of that you would like to share?
Yes, we are currently working in a brand that is named Amatitense, which is going to represent this small town all over the world. And what we did on that brand is to make a blend from 3 different process methods. So the first batch that we made, it was like a representation of my grandfather's process methods, which is taona and brick oven, and then the copper and fermentation made in wood tanks. And the second batch that we made, it was like my father used to make it, which is already autoclave, and then the roller mirror, and then he was using some local bread yeast into the tanks, so he can put something extra on the fermentation and regular distillation. And then I am adding after batch, which is again autoclave, roller mill, and I am adding some champagne yeast in the fermentation tank.
Interesting.
And then making the distillation. After those 3 batches were made, I blend the 3 of them, and that's how Amatitense was built. So we already have the Blanco. You should be tasting it. And I am really honored of that brand because for me, it's like the 3 generation of tequila production
Amazing.
in one bottle. And that's going to be released very soon.
That's amazing. I hope to find it in New Jersey where I'm from in New York. So it'll be amazing to see that. You guys installed a new oven too, right?
Yes,
This is
we
the
already
first
have.
project? that you-
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. Awesome. So this is the first tequila coming out of that oven project?
Mhm.
Awesome. 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 So what's something people would never guess about you until they really get to know you?
Mm, I think that when people speak about myself, or when they are mentioning, oh, Iliana, you're like really strong, independent, bossy woman. And I remember one of my friends telling me like, hey, Iliana,
I never got that in the 5 years.
I know. And I remember one of my closest friends one time told me she saw me crying and being desperate and being having a lot of frustration around many things that were happening. And I remember she mentioned like, I didn't know you could cry. And I said like, yes, I can cry. And I'm really sensitive. I'm actually very sensitive. Sometimes I can't say no. It put me in trouble. So I think that will be something that nobody expects. And sometimes I can't handle it. But I think I try to do my best to be a good leader,
Yeah.
because sometimes you are appealing to that, right? To say like, I want to also feel strong and I need that positiveness in my own life. So, but sometimes it's difficult to have like that mask every single day. I mean, I am very vulnerable. I actually love poetry and I love to write poetry,
Oh,
because of,
I know that about you. Okay,
yes,
that's amazing.
not many people know that.
You got to create a bottle, something to do with poetry and romance or something.
I
don't know.
will, I will. I may do a poem for every, yes.
Yeah.
But I think not all people know that. But that's what make us human, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you need your time to recharge batteries.
Yeah.
And that's very human of me. And probably that's one of the things that you don't see on an Instagram story, right? Probably you won't. But that,
Coming soon to a store near you, a poetry bottle by Iliana Partida. Each batch will have a different poem written by Iliana.
let me take my tequila first.
Oh man. If you could pour a glass of tequila and drink with anyone, living or dead, who's at the table and what are you sipping?
So the last time someone asked me that, I said my two grandfathers.
Huh.
And I mentioned the reasons over there. And then after that, I was thinking a lot and said like, I didn't mention, I wish I'd mentioned an aunt that it was called Emilia. And I will change my answer to this person.
Okay.
Because I think that was the first relative that told me, hey, Anna, you're a little bit different. You're going to be different. And you're very unique. So I don't know. She gave me like this first sense of uniqueness in my vocabulary. And I think that was very amazing. I mean, that someone believes in you or that sees something different in you since you are a kid, and not just treating you as anybody else, and that puts something in your head that says you can do whatever you want. Just go and work for it.
Yeah.
So my tia Emilia was the first one that I remember that mentioned that to me, and I would love to have one tequila with her. And what? Probably a blanco. A blanco because I don't know. I think that's the
That's
best
the
way
pure
to
essence.
understand. That's the pure essence. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I will
Yeah.
say a blanco.
Yeah. So those you got. First of all, here's a toast to her.
A toast
Yeah.
to her.
Whenever I do enjoy having a tequila and I'm at a tasting and there's a Blanco Reposado Añejo and there's multiple tables. I was just at one recently with the Agave Club guys. I went around every single table, tried all the Blancos first because that gives you the essence of what it's going to be. Then I try the Reposado. If I can, try the Blanco Reposado Añejo because Blanco is giving you the pure form of what they're really aging into a Reposado Añejo. So yeah, I really enjoy my Blancos, and there's moments that we enjoy a Reposado Extra Añejo and stuff like that. There's different types of agaves out there for different kind of moods. Iliana, thank you so much for doing this. Love meeting up with you, whether it's in New Jersey, New York, or here. I prefer here, definitely.
For
This
sure.
is really nice. I have a small gift for you. I've been doing this in my podcast as something that I created in honor of 2020 that we had, COVID. So this is a challenge coin that I created with tonight's poison as a heads and tails. And I picked it up randomly. I have a very few left of these. I had gotten 100 of these done. They're numbered individually. So this is number 90 of 100. I'm not sure if that number has a significance to you, but
Thank you.
that's a gift for you.
Oh, that's so cool. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Bye, guys.